Welcome back to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. For friendly expert tax advice whenever you need it, come to Donahue Accounting Services, a leading accounting firm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Our top-notch accountants strive to help you resolve all your financial and tax issues. Call Donahue Accounting Services today for a free consultation at 513-528-3982 or visit online at donahueaccountingservice.com. I'm your host, Alex Meacham, former Bearcat basketball player from 1997 to 1999 under the Hall of Fame coach, my guy, Bob Huggins.
And I'm Neil Meyer of the Front Office News.
And I'm JT Smith, editor-in-chief of the Front Office News.
All right, fellas, we are back for another episode. Let's jump right into it. The Bearcats are currently 17-3 after losing to Kansas State 49-54. This is the Bearcat game recap segment sponsored by Purple Monkey Project. Deep breath. JT, thoughts on the Bearcats' performance?
Man, I think I've uttered these words in another pod earlier in the season, but this was piss poor, man. Piss poor.
Was it Masterpiece Shoe Ugly?
Yeah. That was a text I sent you on that when I was leaving the arena that night.
Yep.
It was definitely Maniati. Maniati, dog. This was definitely Skechers.
That name for a shoe is crazy.
Yeah. Maniati, Skechers. It was and shoe. What else? Some ugly shoes.
Air Monarchs, maybe?
Yeah, Air Monarchs for sure. Definitely Air Monarchs. It was bad, man. It was XJ 900s, whatever.
Hey, what about the Spreewell?
Yeah, Spreewell, them Dada, and all the Dada shoes that came out back in the day. Throw the whole collective in there.
That whole patent leather on that shiny leather on those Dadas were
terrible, dog.
Crazy work.
Crazy. Whoever, man, I respect it, but it was damn shit was big trash. And that's how UC played, like big trash, man. It was so disappointing because you play on the road against a Houston team that's one of the best teams in the nation. Even though you lose, I know you're not supposed to accept losses, of course, but nothing in that game said they were going to come and lay a big brick with their season on the line against Kansas State. If they give half the effort they gave against Houston, they beat this Kansas State team by 15.
Yep,
for sure. Kansas State wanted them to beat the shit out of them. And the Bearcats were like, you know what? We'll just stay close. We'll just keep, stay close. We'll let them stay close. And then after a while, Kansas State said, okay, we actually got a chance to win this game because UC just kept being on BS. And it was like your back's against the wall. That's how you play. It's crazy. But you win that game, you got a lot of hope going into today, and you got a lot of hope going into the Big 12. Like, chances are still going to be slim, but now, man, if you don't win the Big 12 thing, that tournament, we'll talk about that later. But I mean, you're cooked. I mean, it's just like that effort, man, against Kansas State was playing like that was the worst I've seen a team play that won a game in fifth third.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ever. I'm talking about any coach. I'm not talking about Mick. I'm talking about Brandon, all of them together. That's the worst I've ever seen a team play in fifth third and win the game.
49 points. 49 points.
She was sad. Like that game was sad. Just like, especially with how hard they've played lately.
Right.
It's like, come on, man.
Right.
So better than that.
So JT, let's kind of put a microscope on this. Let's take a deep dive, and Neil, you can jump into this conversation as well. Why that effort?
Man, if I knew, like, if I could put my finger on it, I don't even know, man. Like, it's hard to even describe.
It's not even the effort on that aspect either. It was the fact it was senior night, and that was the effort they played with on senior night. Because like JT mentioned, Kansas State was just saying, hey, you can beat us. Coleman Hawkins was out there literally on one leg.
Yeah.
Gimping around, big brace, could barely move. And then you have the opportunity, you're up, double digits at one point, and then you just let them hang around and the effort goes down. I mean, Wes Miller was literally waving his arms up, like smacking the floor at one point, trying to get those guys some kind of energy to be out there.
Yeah, it was rough, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a all players meeting before the game. I don't know what happened. I haven't seen them play like that, and it's been since January since they played like how they played
I don't
on
think we've
Wednesday.
seen them play with that low of energy all season.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I was going to throw this out there a little bit later, but I'm going to throw it out there now for both you all. Was this performance, in terms of the stage and what all was at hand, is this the worst game of the year?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yes.
we thought the Kansas State game earlier in the year was bad. This one was probably 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you say even Kansas, but then Kansas, they was at least competing the whole way, even though they only scored 40 points. They competed the whole time.
Like I think this one is much worse knowing the situation, right? Because you have your NCAA tournament chances still at large, essentially. Like you're sitting at like 40% to make the NCAA tournament on heading into this one. And then you come out, you give that kind of effort, and then you put up 49 points in your senior night, knowing your backs are against the wall and you were about to define the odds that not many people expected you to define if you win the next 2 games heading into the Big 12 tournament. So, I mean, overall, yeah, it was definitely probably the worst game of the season.
I fully expected the Bearcats to win this game, go and beat Oklahoma State, and then that energy's back, and it's like, what kind of run can we make in the Big 12? Now I feel like that's all been deflated. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I almost wonder, because I know the fan base is like, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, Oklahoma State, like, who cares? So I'm wondering, what's the players' mentality right now?
And that's a good question, too, because like those who watched the post-game press conference, I think JT and I can say, meet you as well. That was probably the most animated and frustrated we have seen Wes in 4 years. I mean, he laid it all out there, said it was a horrible effort. It was on him. Don't come from the players. But he also kind of said like he needed better effort from the players. But that was the first time where we've really kind of seen Wes get that frustrated right off the rip. We've seen him frustrated a couple times throughout his career, but this one was all time. Like I think that was the most animated. Like it could have quickly approached a Mick Cronin level press conference.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen behind the closed doors, behind the scenes, we've seen Wes like this. This is one of the few times publicly I think we've seen this Wes Miller in terms of being angry. But what I did like about what he did was he did take accountability, and it was on him. Because listen, we can sit and blame the players all we want, but the CEO of the team, which is Wes Miller, it's all going to fall on him. And he took accountability for that. And there's things that he needs to do better. His staff needs to do better. And they also need to reflect, in the mirror. We can blame players all we want. I mean, these are young people. These are college students that are going through so much stuff. Leadership from a coaching standpoint and a staff standpoint was absolutely crucial at this stage of the game. You're playing Kansas State, a crucial game, and you did not have your team ready. And that falls on, Wes and the staff. And he took accountability for that. So I do appreciate that. Whereas we've seen other coaches, fellas, we've talked about this in the text, that blame everybody else. They blame the players, they blame their assistants, they blame the travel, they blame everybody but the CEO of that team. And I do appreciate. And listen, I personally know Wes. Listen, I think everybody likes Wes. Everyone wants to see Wes be successful. I think we can agree on that, right? He's a likable guy. Has community engagement. But listen, sports has a short menu. It's wins and losses.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
Right? All the other stuff goes out the window when you have losses, when you have bad losses like this. And Wes just has to look in the mirror, and his staff does as well. Guys, any thoughts on that?
Nah, 100%. Everybody got to look in the mirror. The players, staff, anybody a part of the program right now has to look in the mirror. Like, what can I do how can I be better? Because that game was just like, I never expected them to play like that. If they would, like just like we talked about in the media room, like they would have lost the game, but it would have been just like a hard fought game. Kansas State brought it, we brought it, and then UC loses. People are gonna be disappointed, yes, but the way they played, man, they didn't score 50 points at home against Kansas State.
49.
25 in the first half, 24 in the second half. So like
UCL.
And they finished the game 1 for 9 and missed their last 6. Put that into the notes as well. So overall, I'm right there with you guys. I mean, nobody would have expected it, and it was time to look in the mirror. I mean, obviously, you probably wish a loss like this would have happened maybe 4 weeks ago compared to when the not right on the bubble aspect of things. But even Dylan Mitchell said it after the game. I mean, he was pretty clear, like, hey, we got to look ourselves in the mirror. This is unacceptable, kind of thing. But the frustration was boiling on Wednesday night, and respectfully so. I mean, this team has so much talent, so much potential that came into the season ranked, 20th in the country?
Yeah.
And they have not lived up to those expectations. They have simply not. You're heading into the Big 12 tournament now, where teams projected you to finish 6th. You were a top 20 team to start the season, and now you can't even get over 7 wins in conference play. 8 wins in conference play. That's all you're going to be sitting with.
Possibly. That's if they I mean, nothing has it's not even guaranteed that they beat Oklahoma State. I mean, Oklahoma State. You know,
at this point,
you don't know like which team shows up. That's been the problem with the team. Like there's too much up and down. Like it's either real high or real low. And then when they get low, it looks bad. You know, and there's been a lot of stuff they've left on the table, and that's what's burning them. You know, you lose to Kansas State twice. You split with Utah. You know, three. You know, you lose both to West Virginia. I mean,
those were bad. The 2 West Virginia losses are definitely bad.
Yeah. So I feel like Kansas
State loss the other night was worse than the West Virginia loss.
Yeah, but like you should have won. I feel like they should have beat those teams twice. They should have beat Utah twice. So that's 5 more wins. If you get those 5 more wins, you don't even care about the Big 12.
You're in the tournament if you get those wins.
So I do have another thought I want to throw out, and this is the Bearcat game recap segment sponsored by Purple Monkey Project. So I want to throw this out. I was talking with Kenyon the other day on the phone, Kenyon Martin.
Okay.
And we were talking a little bit about the difference between when he and I played and now. I said to Ken, I said, think about, I remember Kenyon and I having a discussion in the room before a game. We were roommates on the road. We were having a discussion. And I thought it was like fascinating to me that I'm with, arguably at that time, he hadn't, this wasn't the senior year Kenyon. This was junior year Kenyon.
Okay.
I'm looking at him like, you potentially are going to be the best player in the country. He hadn't reached there yet, but I'm like, you're going to make it to the NBA. You're going to have millions of dollars. Like, what does that feel like? Knowing that you're broke today and you're going to be wealthy, right? Like you're going to be cool very soon.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation, and he talked about his hunger. Like, listen, I want to be the number 1 player in the country. I want to be the number 1 draft pick. Like, he can say all he wants that wasn't his thought back then. Like he said that. Trust me, we had that conversation in the room. That's how driven he is. But we were talking about this on the phone. Like, you fast forward to today, you look at a Dylan Mitchell, you look at a Dan Skillings. And I don't know where Dylan and Dan's came from in terms of their family situation, but you look at Kenyon, he was trying to get out of a financial situation of not having a lot to where he could take care of his family, which he did. These guys got it right now.
Yeah.
Like, Kenyon was in college working to get that.
Yeah.
These guys have it right now. And you wonder, you look at a Dylan Mitchell, you look at a Dan Skillings. I'm just using them as examples of guys that are probably Dylan's $800,000 range probably.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So you look at that type of money, like those dudes have if you take Dylan and Dan and put them back in 1999, 2000 with Kenyon and I having that drive to want to get paid, man, man, I think their drive and their motivation to be great and make that type of money would be different. I wonder how much that impacts. I'm not even gonna say that. Not do I wonder. I know it impacts these kids today because Dylan Mitchell comes out and scores 2 points. He's gonna go. Let me check my bank account app. Okay, 800,000 in there. Got that Mercedes. Got that hot girl. I'm good.
Yeah, true. It's different. You got it. You already got it. So it's like it takes a different motor to be like, all right, you have a bad game and be like, all right, you know, you already got what you got half of the. You might be not as much as you make to the NBA, of course, but from a person from 18 to 22 years old, maybe 20, whatever, you know, some people a little bit older, but you got 6 figures in college, man. It's a lot of money, just life-changing money. And you get it a couple years in a row. I mean, it's a little different, man. It's a little different.
Some people don't make that much money in a lifetime.
Yep.
Okay. And he has it right now. Dylan has it. And I don't mean to pick on him. You know, I'm just using him as an example of somebody that's like so talented.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I mean, just unbelievably talented. So,
yeah.
You know, you wonder the hunger. Dylan Mitchell has 2 points. Seamas has 4. Is that right? 4 points?
Man. Yep.
I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
I just and look, I feel like players should be paid. I don't have the answer for how the system. You know, everyone always. I have conversation with people and they have these ideas of how the system should work. I don't know what's right. They could be right. I don't know the answer to how they can fix it. I don't know if they will fix it, but I mean, I watched that game and you just are like, you know, some of these guys just aren't motivated. And maybe West and the staff are doing all they can. And you just got guys that are like, man, I got plenty of money, dog. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Who cares if I have a bad game?
Yeah.
Just because, like, if Kenyon has a game where just imagine. So Dylan Mitchell has had a 0-point game and a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Imagine Kenyon Martin, his junior year.
Yeah.
Senior, having 0 points and 2 points in a game. Nah, dog.
Yeah.
That dude would be ripping everything down in the locker room. He would be in fifth, or the shoe, as we called it back then, to the next game. Like, he wouldn't have left. That's how, you know what I mean? That's how locked in he was, JT.
Yeah. I think that, like, not trying to, I think people aren't, I mean, you're paid already. So it's different. It's different, man.
Hey,
I don't know, like.
Go ahead, JT.
So, you know, like, you know, you just think about it. It's like I'll use my youngest son as an example. Like, 5th grade, they lose in the game before a championship. So, like, he's damn near about to cry. He's damn near crying in the handshake line.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
that leads to a good point. What, JT, I'll ask you, since Meach wasn't at the game, what did you think of Coleman Hawkins' little temper tantrum fiasco on Wednesday night?
It was weird. It was damn near like Kansas State was fighting with each other.
Yeah, and
Coleman Hawkins, like, he wasn't yelling like with them. He was yelling like, what the fuck? Like,
he was yelling at them.
Like, and they still won the game.
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, for me, I loved it. If I'm seeing my star 2 whatever million dollar player that he was getting coming down the sideline after you just committed your 7th turnover in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, what are we doing? And he comes down the sideline screaming to where we can hear him in the media seating, stomping his feet. He gets in the huddle and at the timeout lights everybody up. And then Kansas State comes out on a 10-0 run. I mean, that's the kind of energy, passion that we want to see from some of these guys. You're getting paid big time money, right? Yeah, you might be able to look at your bank account and say, oh, I got 800,000, 1.5 mil, whatever it might be that you're getting in NIL money, and you still have that kind of passion, even when things aren't going well for you and your team this season. That's the kind of energy that Cincinnati probably should be looking for right now for somebody, because that energy single-handedly flipped that game on Wednesday night.
Hey, before we get out of this segment, JT, can you finish your point about Zane? I actually want to hear it. You know, I love Zane, man. That's my guy.
So, like, literally, they're losing. They know they lost, and then he's like crying, like pretty much like in the handshake line crying, like you're damn near crying. So then like you sitting down like crying, we go over like, hey, it's been a good year, blah blah blah. He's like takes his jersey off, like tries to like hide his face, like cause like even though like they haven't had like the greatest year, but when like you have a chance to do something, and you were that close, like you should feel it. Like you shouldn't be. I know everybody's different, but if you really care, like it should affect you. Some people should know you're affected.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we saw that like with the team. You know what I mean? I can't put it, you know what I mean? But I just know, I feel like I know he was affected. Like I literally talked to him in the car. He's like, I almost cried. I held it in, but I was that close to crying. And then you could see it in his face. Like, and then it was like one of his teammates, like, was crying,
As a parent, JT, you kind of battle a little bit of a line of like, I want him to be emotional because he put that time in.
Yeah.
I don't want him to be extreme emotional where people look at it as poor behavior.
Yeah.
I do want him to have that, you know what I'm saying? It's got to, I'm sure you had that conversation with him. Like,
yeah, for sure. Like I respect it. Like he played hard to the end. He wasn't BSing.
Yep.
And so I'm like, yeah, it should hurt you some. You know what I mean? Like you should be sad you lost. Like you shouldn't never accept the loss. Like in your head, you should be like, what did I do wrong, or what can I have done better? But like it should care. You should put enough work in where if you lose, you should be sad or not feel the same as you should if you won. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just feel that's what your deposits. You know what I mean? Like your daily deposit should be like, hey, damn, this was BS. What could I have done better? What could somebody else done better? I'm sad. You know what I mean? Because I expected we should have won. Like, we lost, but you shouldn't be just all like, it's another day. Especially when it's this late in the season. Maybe early in the season, a little different, but March is go time, and anybody playing basketball right now is playing for a bigger purpose right now.
Yep. The Bearcat game recap was sponsored by Purple Monkey Project. The Purple Monkey Project was formed following the tragic loss of 10-year-old Reagan Vanasse in May of 2021. Reagan was a ray of sunshine who lit up every room. The Purple Monkey Project is named after Reagan's favorite stuffed animal and seeks to keep Reagan's spirit alive by being a ray of light in the community and promoting random acts of kindness. By providing scholarships and other financial support of youth and youth-centered charities in Southwest Ohio, the Purple Monkey Project seeks to pay it forward, all in the name of Reagan. To learn more about the Purple Monkey Project, please visit purplemonkeyproject.org or visit them on Facebook at Purple Monkey Project. This Saturday at 3 p.m., the Bearcats take on Oklahoma State in Stillwater. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. Let's jump into the Big O segment sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. In this segment, we cover players to watch and key matchups. JT, we'll start with you. Who are you expecting a big game from? Somebody's got to step up.
Somebody, man. So I'm going to go with Day Thomas, man.
Okay.
But, like, I mean, he got in foul trouble, against Kansas State. For like that hurt. But I just feel like his energy, I feel like I know he's not going to quit. You know what I mean? Like, he's just one of those guys. If he messes up, he messes up. But I feel like he's going to give you everything he got. And the Bearcats are going to need that. They need a scoring. I mean, him and Chisel were the only people to score double digits on Wednesday. So we need more double digits.
Hey, JT, I just got to say this real quick. I love what you said. I don't want to go past it. You said he's the type of kid that will never quit.
Yeah.
Day. One time after, I forget what game it was, they lost a home game. I can't remember which home game it was. And I was down by the tunnel after, and Day was talking to his family. He was literally crying.
Yeah.
Like, Day was crying. So, yeah, he's one of those guys that shows no quit, like, is really invested in it.
Yeah. Now, you could see it. Like, even when he messed up against Utah and had that foul, it's not – he's one of those guys like, damn, that was a bad play. But that's because he cares. He's going to go –
for sure.
He's going 110% the whole time he's in. And that's what the Bearcats need. So I feel like he needs to score definitely another double-digit game. Hopefully he can stay on. Hopefully he doesn't get in foul trouble. He's so aggressive on defense because they need him on the court, man. He's not going to quit. And if Bearcats are going to, I won't jump the gun, but they're going to win in Stillwater. I feel like that is going to have to be a very, very, very big component of that.
Yep, it's a good pick. Neil, what you got for UC and Oklahoma State?
Yeah, for UC, I would like to see a Dylan Mitchell game this afternogame.
After we just talked bad about him, he's got to step up.
I would like to see a game from Dylan Mitchell, see kind of how he bounces back after that 2-point performance versus Kansas State. And the reason I say that is because people looked at him as a leader on this team, right?
Sure.
And he's a very, very good person off the court as well. And people look to him as a leader, despite only being here for 7-8 months so far. I would love to see him kind of get this team together, step in, and hopefully, in Cincinnati's favor, get these guys to play with some energy, play with some spark, because they're going to need it in the front court there, especially versus a very talented big and Abu Osmane from Oklahoma State, who was at Xavier a year ago. So overall, I think this is going to be the game for Dylan Mitchell, and I hope I'm not wrong on that aspect, but I really think this is a game where they could make an impact, especially with how well things have gone for Oklahoma State in the recent weeks. Like, they have competed overall, but having your backs against the wall right now, and it was just something telling me after he came in that media press conference with Wes Miller the other night, like, I don't think any of us have seen Dylan without a smile on his face since he came to Cincinnati. And he was in there pretty frustrated, and you could kind of see it.
Did he talk a lot?
Maybe about a minute and a half or so. He got asked a couple of questions, and he was pretty pissed off from the look at it. And I mean, he even said himself, like, "Hey guys, we got to look ourselves in the mirror right now." So to see him kind of acknowledge that too, you can kind of tell that they knew their effort on the court the other night was not acceptable and not up to the Cincinnati standard. And to see them kind of recognize that quickly after, well, hopefully spark that kind of energy and say, hey, let's have 2 hard practices before we get out to Stillwater and see how things go. But overall, I think that's going to be the matchup to watch, is Abu Osmane and Dylan Mitchell right there battling it out in the front court.
You know, you mentioned something about getting back to practice and battling. You know, you wonder as a coaching staff, you know, what do? You lose to Kansas State, and we talked about I don't think it's an argument. That's the worst loss of the year. Getting ready to go to Oklahoma State. If you don't step it up, you could lose that game, and then it's like all the wheels are falling off. You know, what do you do as a coaching staff? It's like you've tried all the tricks. You tried dodgeball. You tried players-only meetings. It's like, do you just roll into practice and just like, okay, look, let's just go and like not talk about it a lot? I don't know the psychology behind you know, the approach, because listen, it is a psychological. I always say this in sports, a lot of times coaches are psychologists. They don't have the degree, maybe some do, maybe some don't, but if you don't have a psychology degree, you are a psychologist. And I think about that, you know, Neil, like when I was playing for the Bearcats, Hugs is so smart. He knew he couldn't directly rip Melvin Levitt all the time. Mel would take it personally because Mel was emotional. He played with a lot of emotion. So Hugs knew how to play the psychological game with Mel to get him motivated. Some of the best games Mel had when I played, he had a terrible practice the day before, but Hugs knew how to motivate him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Neil, JT, I don't know what Wes and the staff do going into practices leading into this. I mean, you've tried so many, and I know for a fact Wes has tried so much shit.
Yeah.
And he even said it the other night too, that he was like, sometimes I feel like my intensity that I coach with is too hard on these kids, especially in this era. Like, he even said that. And I mean, he's tried everything. We have seen it at practice. He has pushed these guys harder and harder anytime something goes wrong. And I mean, he's, like we said, we saw him on Wednesday night, like smacking the floor on the sideline, like pumping his arms up, trying to get these guys to get involved, bring some energy. And I mean, as a coach, like, what more can you really do in that kind of situation? Like, you're trying to bring the energy yourself when they're not having it and you're on the sideline. And as a coach, if you see yourself trying to pump up the crowd, get some kind of momentum going, you're doing everything you can. And people, at one point, the players are going to have to respond to it, right? So for me, like we talked about with coaches, like in the psychological aspect, for me being a high school coach, What I always tell my kids after a bad loss is, all right, you got till 12 o'clock tonight or 11:59 to think about it. And I want you to think hard about it. But once that clock hits midnight, it's a new slate. You forget about that day prior and you just move forward.
How's your team doing, Neil?
We actually do not have our first game until next week. The 15th is our first game.
Okay.
No, the 17th. 17th is our first game.
Who you play?
Lebanon.
Okay. All right. Team going to be good this year?
I think we'll be pretty good this year. I really do.
Okay. Okay. JT, any thoughts on that before we move forward here?
Yeah, you don't know what do you do, man? Like, what do you do? I don't even know how to answer it, man. Because what do? You try so many things. It seems like you had a pulse on it, and then Wednesday night, like the pulse went away. It's like, like you had everything connected. It's almost like they give you a diagnosis. They say, all right, you do this, you start seeing these results. You start seeing the results, and you're like super close to like getting off that medication, and then that next day, you eat something you're not supposed to eat, and then your blood sugar's all over the place, and they're like, hey, you need this medicine now. You know what I mean? And you don't know what happened. You ate one thing, and it just turned it around. So that's what I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I don't even know. I don't even know like where he can start at, because he's probably tried so many things. He's like, damn, what works? So
almost wonder, do you go into your mentor Rolodex of people, if you're Wes, and call Roy Williams, call whoever your mentors are, and say, listen, I'm struggling, man. I got to figure this out. What would you do?
Yeah.
And I've heard of coaches doing that. They'll reach out to someone, that has been through the struggles, the ups and downs, and say, how'd you handle this? Is there anything I could do?
Yeah.
Because, man, they got to figure this out. The Big O segment is sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. Hey, real quick, the player that I'm picking is going to be Jizzle James. I want to see Jizzle keep stacking good games, high point performances. Because it could go one or two ways. Like, I want Jizzle to remain a Bearcat. I don't want him to jump in the portal, right?
Yeah.
So I want him to have good games so that he's like, look, I'm performing well here. I want to stay here and continue this thing. I want to be a part of doing something better next year. But at the same time, the function of playing well is you're going through the handshake line and Kelvin Sampson shaking your hand like, hey, man, you are balling out. You could ball out more here at Houston.
Yeah, yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
real talk.
I think that really happened, didn't it?
I know he definitely pressed. He wanted Jizzle bad.
Yeah. He talked to him in the handshake line a year ago. Listen, who knows what he said, but that shit happens. That happens. If a player's playing at a certain level, it's like they may have a bigger bag.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we can give you a 1.5. Come on over, Shamon. And then, you got to make a business decision at that point.
Yeah.
But, you look at it too, like Jizzle comes from money, a situation where, they're stable.
Yeah.
And so they don't have to necessarily make a financial decision. It's more of a development, long-term decision, which to me, I wish kids were in a position where they could look at college athletics to make a long-term decision instead of like a short-term, because I got to get this bag. Because it's hard. Like, let's say you're getting $400,000 at one school, and another school goes, I'm going to give you 800 to $1 million. I mean, dang.
Yeah.
Like, that fit, and the fit over there might not be as good as the one you're at, but that bag's just like.
Yeah, the bag is like, it's like, damn, you're going to double me up. And like some of the other schools be like, all right, you might have went to the tournament the last couple years. He's like, okay, boom, you're taking this person. I'm just going to say use Houston as the outlier. All right, LJ Cryer isn't he? I think he's a senior, right?
Yeah.
Right. So boom, he's like, look, LJ Crier's gone. You can fit in his spot. Boom, we've made deep runs, and you're like, shit. And you gonna give me more money? You know what I mean? So it's like,
I'm out.
Like, what do? So it's kind of hard. It's hard to be loyal sometimes when when money is involved, you kind of,
But then you got to look at, this is where, like, I hope moving forward, young people can be in a position where they can make do I think Jizzle has a good fit here at Cincinnati? Absolutely. Would I love to see him continue here and then reach, the professional level? Yes, I think he's a good fit for that. And that is kind of like, I want to see kids be able to make fit decisions versus financial decisions. You know what I mean? Because that's a long-term plan rather than a short-term game. So
just to add on that, let's look at Kansas. What's the other team that Baylor? Like, the kid left Duke and went to Baylor, and he started off hasn't played as well, and now he's making a lot of money, but he's coming off he's probably like 7th, 8th off the bench now. You know what I mean? 7th, 8th man. Where he was always starting at Duke. Who knows? Like, he probably was grandfathered in.
Yep.
How much more did they give him? I don't know. And I think the kid at Kansas, like, he got a decent amount. He's starting to play now, but he pretty much didn't play all season. He was like one of the leading scorers. What's that Coit kid?
AJ Storr. AJ Storr went from Wisconsin and got $1.2 million from Kansas, and he's averaging 1.6 points after leading Wisconsin in scoring a season ago.
Yeah. So you got to balance that, because, like, if you go from leading a team from scoring, you get the bag, and then you start scoring 2 points, and NBA is, if you were on an NBA rate, that's cooked right there. So it's a balance. It's a balance. Yep. You could have stayed there. Maybe they give you $1 million, and they gave you 1.2, or they give you 900,000. But you're the man. They're building it around you. You got to be smart about it, because you can mess yourself up chasing a bag too. Like, you got to be able to balance it.
Yep.
Because the store kid, he's cooked. He's cooked himself, got more money. So hopefully he's doing wise with it, not doing anything crazy, and that's life-changing money. But at the same time, he was a guy that probably was on more radars in his previous school.
Trajectory was better.
His trajectory was way better. And now he's probably, he's definitely not on the NBA, like pure NBA roster. Somebody might take a chance in the G League, but that him being one of the 60 or 62 people called is a wrap.
Yeah, so I guess to wrap that all together, I think selfishly I want Jizzle to have a really good game, finish the season strong, so he wants to stay at the University of Cincinnati and be one of those long-term Bearcat guys, reach that professional level. But at the same time, people are going to be sliding in them DMs, as we say. Sure. They definitely will be sliding in them DMs. So
yeah.
The Big O segment was sponsored by Smart Dog Solutions. Do you have a business that needs better inventory control, production management, or improved accounting control? Outgrown QuickBooks or can't afford NetSuite? Give Lowell Bearcat grads Doug and Kathy Jacobs at Smart Dog Solutions a call. They've been in your position, will love to help solve your problems. They can be contacted at 513-739-9473 or online at smartdog-solutions.com. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. All right, it's time for the world-famous segment, everybody's favorite segment, the name game with our guy, Neil Meyer, sponsored by Oakley Greens. All right, let's see what you got, Neil. Hey. Hey, Neil, you know what? You've got a consistent dance now. It's not... Now, one of two things have happened. Either you said, this is the Neil Meyer dance, and I'm just going to rock with it all year, or you have no other dance moves.
It's option two.
Okay, it's two. So I kind of figured, but, I didn't want to.
Option two.
Yeah, that's it for Neil. But I'm glad we've got that down pat. All right, we're going to jump into the name game. This is where we look at the opposing team for the Bearcats, and we look at their roster, and now in 2025 and moving forward, there's so many players that are international, kids with just wild names. Some names are really cool. Some names we just enjoy saying. So we're going to look at Oklahoma State's roster. And Neil, are you ready?
Yep.
We're going to start. I just kind of like this one. I kind of like the first name. Number 0.
Marcellus Avery.
Marcellus. I like that. Do you know anybody JT named Marcellus, Neil? You ever heard
Nah,
that name before?
I don't.
nah, Marcellus as well.
Yeah, I'm like, is that somebody famous with that name, or is that
Nah.
one where the folks just made it up? We're just gonna go ahead and
Freestyle.
freestyle. Freestyle. We talked about this last time, JT, where like some of these names, you think about when the child is born, the parents are in the hospital, they literally have to look on a piece of paper at the name and sign off like, yep, we're going with Gob Gob. Like,
Yeah.
that is wild to me at times.
Or
Like,
that one we sent in the group chat the other day.
what was that name again, Neil?
Gooey Tip.
Pause.
Hey, Gob Gob's moved to second place. That's first place. That's
Gooey.
crazy.
Gooey
That
Tip is crazy. Gooey Tip.
Who's he play for?
Let me look up the picture. He plays football. I think Pittsburgh, if I remember right.
That is the
Gooey.
wildest. That's like where you go, you know what? We are going to give our child a lot of mental health problems. He's going to be bullied.
Oh, he
Yeah.
plays for a smaller D3 school, Briarcliff University.
Man, how do you spell that?
GOOYTIP.
Man, with the last name Tip, you kind of really limited of what you could.
Yeah.
It's like it's very limited. So to pick Gooey is just crazy.
Yeah. Gooey like lined them all up. Like Gooey is crazy. You already lined up with last name Tip.
yeah.
You already lined up. Then they hit him with the Gooey. Like that's crazy. That is crazy.
If that's a family name, like there are other relatives with that name, there's got to be a point where it stops. Right?
Yeah. Sometimes you got to be the bigger person about stuff. Like, come on, man. Like, all right, I had to suffer, but maybe they just like you might have been in a family of haters where it's like, fuck it, I had to suffer, you about to suffer too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I got a friend, and he's got a name. He doesn't go by that actual name,
Yeah.
but it's been a family name. I'm not gonna call him out. I'm not gonna say it. But he had his first child, and I said to him, "This is one of my good friends." I'm like, "Dog, you can't name your child that. Like, I know it's a family. Like, it's got to stop somewhere."
Yeah.
He's like, "Dog, my dad's gonna be disappointed." I'm like, "Disappoint him. This needs to stop." Like, I'm not even gonna say the name. I'm not gonna call my boy out like that. Good thing he had a daughter.
Yeah.
And he went a different route. So he was gonna be in a tough situation. So, all right, number 2, Neil.
Number 2 for Oklahoma State is Arturo Dean.
Where's that name from? Where do I notice that? Arturo. Was there an Arturo somewhere? I was looking at that. I'm like, was there somebody?
Well, there's a Canadian boxer, Arturo Gotti.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Good call, Neil. Thank you. That was it. Yep. Okay. I kind of like that. All right. I like that. Number 14.
Number 14 for Oklahoma State is Jamron Keller.
They definitely made that up. But let's look at that spelling. Spell
Jamyron,
that
maybe?
Jamyron.
Jamyron Keller.
Jamyron.
Jamyron.
JT. Jamyron.
Freestyle.
Yeah, that's definitely, we're gonna make this up and see how it looks on paper.
They wanted to somebody was like named like James and Myron in the family.
Man,
something like that, and they just said, fuck it.
You know what? That does happen. They're just like, we're gonna go ahead and
we're gonna merge this.
Have we ever heard how LeBron got the name LeBron?
No.
Okay. Somebody needs to ask him that question.
Yeah.
I need to get the.
Yeah, it definitely was like a Larry or Lee in the family. Then it was like, I don't know the Bron part. I don't even know what Bron.
I don't.
I can't think of a short Bron part, so I don't know.
We need to get a podcast on that. He needs to get a podcast and answer. All right, crazy number, by the way, for basketball. Number 19.
Number 19 is Andrija Vukovic.
Say the first name again.
Andrija Vukovic.
Where's my? Huh?
He got a quarterback number.
Yeah, he does. He does. Where's he
He's
from?
Serbia.
Oh, he's from Serbia. Huh.
Kukarica, Belgrade, Serbia.
Why does it have 3 names? I've never seen that before. You see that? He has 3 names where he's from. Say it again, Neil, where he's from?
Kukarica, Belgrade, and Serbia. Belgrade, Serbia.
That's wild. What school's that? First Sport Basketball College, Belgrade?
Yep.
That's wild enough. Forget his name. All right, number 24. This is more the last name.
Number 24 is Patrick Sumnick, and he is actually a repeat offender on the name game because he was at West Virginia last year.
Oh, was he?
Mm-hmm.
Good catch. I don't even remember.
But I never heard of him.
Yeah, you got me on that one. He's from Green Bay.
Green Bay. Damn, brothers in Green Bay.
Hey, JT, that's some funny shit you said. Yeah, they got brothers in Green Bay.
For real. I'm dead serious. You got crazy from Green Bay. It's crazy. Never thought.
We got to look at the demographic in.
Yeah, I might be short in Green Bay. It might be off the chain in Green Bay, but
that's funny. So one time, my buddy and I were watching a TV show. And there was a black dude on the show on TV. It was like a high school scholastic football thing. Okay. I don't know how we were watching it, but it was a black dude, and he was from like the most random place in Idaho. And my buddy and I looked like, this doesn't add up.
Yeah,
like, we have now. So he went and looked at like the online. You could look at the breakdown of how many black people, Asian people, and like it was 1%. Black people in that area, and we're like, how? So you know how it is nowadays. You can go to Instagram. He was adopted.
Okay,
but he's got to be like.
He might be, man. Adopted Green Bay, Wisconsin.
He might be. He might have been adopted in Green Bay.
Be.
All right, number 33.
Number 33 for Oklahoma State, Abu Osman. And he was at Xavier. He is also a repeat offender of the name game.
Yep. He's from Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn.
He's from Brooklyn.
Shame on you.
You know who that is, Neil? You know what he's talking about?
I think I've heard of it before, but I can't put the name to the
old dirty bastard. The ODB.
I feel like that song popped up in a few movies recently though, like on some scores.
Really? I've not heard that yet.
Yeah, I swear it has. Like, cause I feel like I've listened to this song like recently, like, and it wasn't like playing it on my Spotify.
Shame on him. You step up. There's never been a rapper like him.
Never.
Like, before, after, like ODB was in his own world.
For sure. 101 for sure.
101.
I didn't respect him as much as younger now I do. Now I'm like, damn, dude was kind of tight.
Well, you know, the problem was he was in Wu-Tang, and now you got Method Man, Raekwon, Ace. You got all these like high level, and then you got him who's like, oh, like, what? Like, whoa. But you know what? Old Dirty probably would have been pretty popular today.
Oh, Old Dirty would have. He was ahead of his time for real.
He was definitely. That's a good call. I didn't even think about that. Hey, he's definitely ahead of his time.
He was futuristic.
Definitely. Hey, Neil, I know we're out of Black History Month, but I need you to put down Old Dirty Bastard. That's his name. ODB.
ODB.
I want you to go listen to ODB's catalog, okay? Will you do that?
I got you.
All right. And hopefully that becomes part of your like pump up music.
Maybe you'll definitely get pumped off that.
Wouldn't it be funny if Neil like turns into this like big strong bodybuilder and we're like, what happened? He's like, man, that old dirty bastard, man.
Turn to the gym.
Bro, it got me turned up.
Yeah. Got me lit.
The name game with Neil Meyer is sponsored by Oakley Greens. Oakley Greens, the ultimate spot to catch your hometown team in every big game. With 6 giant LED screens and TVs at every angle, it's more than a sports bar. It's your entertainment headquarters. All the sports, all the time. all at Oakley Greens. They're located in Oakley Station next to the cinemas. You can check out their website, oakleygreens.com. The Kenyon segment is sponsored by my guy, Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota. This is where we cover the keys to the game. JT, man, I think we might all have the same thing, but what do the Bearcats need to do to win?
Man, play with energy, man. We can't have the energy we saw on Wednesday today. Because if so, man, they might get popped again, man.
You know,
don't want that to happen. So they got to play with better energy. That's all I want to see, man. Energy. From as soon as they throw the ball up, I need to see Bearcats playing with energy. If they're not, take them out.
Yep.
And just keep whoever it is, whoever you play. Ain't about offensive stuff. If you're playing like you didn't be take them out. Because Wednesday, we can't see another Wednesday. We see another Wednesday.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Totally agree. And I think we'll kind of keep this moving because I think we're all going to have the same kind of response. But Neil, you might have something a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm right there playing with some energy, right? Because for those who kind of followed Oklahoma State this year or have done some research, Oklahoma State's pretty damn good at home. They are 2-10 on the road, but they are 11-2 at home on the season. And they average nearly 20 points more per game at home compared to what they do on the road. So Cincinnati's going to need that energy this afternoon, and they're going to have to win the rebounding margin as well. And I think if they can win the rebounding margin, I think that's going to solidify some things, and it will open things up for them. But you got to have that energy. You got to have the will and the want to go in there and play Cincinnati basketball, crash the boards, go get those rebounds. Because if they don't win the margin of the glass, and we see another sequence of what we saw on Wednesday night where Kansas State was able to get 3 offensive rebounds. What was it, JT? 3 straight possessions, it felt like.
Yeah.
If you don't crash the boards in this one, it's going to be a long afternoon.
The Kenyon segment is sponsored by Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota. Yeah, Neil, just to kind of play off that, I mean, what JT said, I think ties into what you say, playing with that energy. Rebounding is an effort thing, right? Like, go and get the basketball and fight to get the rebound. So that's a want thing. And my whole thing is, for this game, I mean, play for something. If you go on social media, which a lot of these players do, they see the criticism. They see the criticism of Wes Miller. They see the criticism of the staff. They see the criticism of some of the players. They see the criticism of John Cunningham, the leader of athletics. So as a player, you got to play for something, man. You've got to change that narrative. So, I just hope that these guys come out versus Oklahoma State and don't lay an egg. If they come out and win this game here and play well today, I will have a lot more faith. Obviously, this we're going to talk about shortly. This season ship, probably sailed, but I will have more faith moving forward with the basketball program because you go to have, arguably the worst loss of the year, one of the worst losses in a while, and you turn around, go on the road to a team that plays well at home, and you beat them. That shows me, shows me a lot. Now, if on the flip side, JT, like you talked about, throw the ball up, they come out with piss poor energy, and things just kind of go downhill. Yeah. Oh man, it is going to be Sam Cassell. Ugly.
Yeah. Reggie Jackson.
Tyrone Hill.
Tyrone Hill. Popeye Jones.
Hey, Popeye Jones might be the worst of them all. Like,
hey, Sam Cassell is one of my go-tos. So, like when you said Sam Cassell.
Hey, have you ever seen that interview where it was like a student, like he was like a young person, and he was at I want to say it was maybe the Rockets thing, and he interviewed Sam Cassell on the side.
No.
You've never seen this?
No.
How do you feel about everybody saying you're ugly? It's like, what? That is, man, Sam Cassell was about to, and Sam's got like he ain't nothing to mess with, man. That dude's got a fuse. So he almost killed him. I ran into Sam Cassell in Indiana one time. Yeah, I saw him. It was after a Pacers game. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. If they lose this one and they lose in piss poor fashion, it could be really ugly, really ugly. That's all I got. Just play for something, man. Listen. The players they hear the criticism.
Yeah,
they hear it. So what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it?
What you gonna do, brother? So, all the Bearcat maniacs out there. Even though I don't fuck with Hulk Hogan no more, but
oh, it's so funny, man. When the only thing I can say about the Bearcats losing, it's allowed us to like add a lot of comedy to our podcast. We end up going other places because it's like, you know, we're tired to talk about the losses, but man,
true.
Yeah, that's. Hey, listen, I'm with what all you guys say, and hopefully they come out with energy and win the game. The Kenyon segment keys of the game was sponsored by Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota. Come see fellow Bearcat Greg Hooden at Beachmont Toyota for all your new and pre-owned Toyota needs. Look for Greg Hooden on Instagram and Twitter at Cincy Greg Hooden. Hooden is spelled Hoodin. Or come see Greg at Beachmont Toyota. Always ready to help our Bearcat family get into a new Toyota. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. The Twyman segment is sponsored by Visionary Cleaners. Shout out my guy, Derek Adams. This is where we cover hot topics. Fellas, I think it's just only one thing we can talk about, and that can the Bearcats make a run? Shock the world in the big. JT's got his head down already before I can even finish it. Can they make a run in the Big 12 tournament? JT, got your head down, but we'll go ahead and let you talk.
No.
What's coming to soul man?
No.
Why are you over there messing
with other people? He said, man, it's like both our bikes, man. Just keep it at my house. Don't you say we keep it at your house?
You like both our bikes.
Just keep it at your house. He said, oh man, I didn't know you wanted it back, homie. But
hey, yeah, Neil, do you know? Hold on, Neil, do you know what we're talking about?
No.
One of the great, great comedies, but would you consider that like a hood comedy a little bit?
Yeah, it's probably not as mainstream. Yeah. But it birthed a lot of Chris Tucker took off like a rocket. Ice Cube is Ice Cube. You know what I mean? It's definitely one of the best comedies for sure.
Yeah, we're talking about the movie Friday, Neil, with Ice Cube. And
okay, I think I know I've heard of it.
Be like, no, so like and it's crazy because my answer changed literally Wednesday. Because it was like this team is too night and day, man. And then when they're night, they're not. Shit. You don't score 50 points against Kansas State, who's not like a defensive demon. You know what I mean? Like a defensive, the best team. You know, if you score less than 50 against Houston, you score over 60 points against Houston, and can't score 50 points against Kansas State. So then we don't. It's too wishy-washy right now. So, and we haven't had a super long winning streak against quality opponents all year, essentially. So now you got to win with 5 to win the championship in the Big 12, right? Because you don't get the bye.
Yep.
You're not 5 in the Big 12 is tough when you're good, when you're playing great. 5 when you're playing like this, shit, you might as well put that in in foreign language.
Man.
You ain't gonna be able to do it.
Yep.
But I hope I'm wrong. I'll be happy. I'll eat my words. This is one of the times I'll be happy to be wrong. But damn it, what they've showed us, I can't be delusional and the Bearcats can win 5 in a row. What the hell are we watching? What we're watching is a team that I don't know if they're gonna win one game in the Big 12 tournament.
Yep. And I think JT, a lot's going to depend on how they come out versus Oklahoma State today.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure.
But even if they come out and win versus Oklahoma State, it's back to your point of the bipolar of this team. It's like we got two extremes, Kansas State and then Oklahoma State. It's like those are just two. If they go on and win Oklahoma State, it's like you don't know what you're gonna get, and it's just when it's the unknown.
Yeah, it's a surprise box. But you know how you get the candy? Remember what the thing? It's like it's a mystery flavor.
The what?
You know how you like the candies? Like it'll be like you got a mystery flavor where it's like you don't know, like it might be like Skittles or something, and they'll be like you got a mystery flavor. It's a new flavor they're trying to unveil. You don't know what it is.
I've never heard of this.
You never seen those? Like it'd be like candies, like major candies. They'll have like a mystery flavor. That's us. We don't know what the fuck we're getting.
I knew Cracker Jacks would always have the prizes in there. You never know what you got.
Something like that. So that's a good one too. We'll do that. Okay. Then like Cracker Jacks, you don't know what's the prize. You got to get to the bottom of the box, and we at the bottom of the box. Ain't the game? The season's over. You know what I'm saying? So you don't know what the hell we gonna get, man. So I if you tell me they're gonna win 5 in a row, I'll hope you're right. But damn it, what they've shown us ain't conducive to winning a 5 in a row, especially in the Big 12.
Yep. Neil, should we even show up?
Honestly, it's going to be a tough road for them to even make the NCAA tournament or even make a run in the Big 12 tournament. And the reason I say that is because say you win today versus Oklahoma State, right? You look down at the Big 12 standings right now. The way the conference is set up this year, with the expansion, you're playing another day essentially. So basically every team 1 through 8 gets a bye, essentially. And on top of it, Cincinnati is currently ranked 12th. So even with a loss or win today, depending on what UCF does, who is ahead of Cincinnati, it's more than likely Cincinnati is going to be playing at 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday in the opening round. And then if they win that game, they'll play the 5 seed, which right now is projected Iowa State. And then they play the 4 seed. And if it's anybody right now, I don't want to play the 4 seed because that's BYU, and BYU is one of the hottest teams in the country right now. So overall, their chances of running the table and making it to the championship is slim to none. And I hate to say that, it's slim to none, especially coming off of what they played with the other night. Now, if they win and they get an 11 seed somehow, you still find your way to potentially a second round matchup with Baylor, which would be nice. You would kick off it. The conference tournament in the late game on 8 o'clock on Tuesday. You play a potential UCF or Arizona State, whatever that might be, Arizona State or even Oklahoma State. Like there's an opportunity where this is a similar situation like last year where they played West Virginia, they lost, and then they had to turn right back around and play West Virginia in the conference tournament. This is a very similar situation that Cincinnati might find themselves in, and they might even face Oklahoma State on Tuesday again. You don't know until everything's all said and done later today, but I don't know. Right now, if I'm Cincinnati looking at how this Big 12 bracket is set up, you're kind of playing yourself into 2 options. And if you would have won on Wednesday night, you would have been looking at maybe playing Texas Tech on Thursday, which would have been a better matchup. But overall, things aren't going to be easy for Cincinnati if they want to get it all the way till next Saturday's Big 12 championship.
The Twyman segment is sponsored by Visionary Cleaners. Listen, I just don't have a lot of faith that this team could make it to the championship game. And are we going to agree unless they win this whole thing? They're not going to the NCAA tournament. I think even if they go to the championship game of the Big 12,
you got to win it. You got to win it, in my opinion.
Yep, you got to win it to go to the NCAA tournament. I just don't see – because listen, you can name all these teams, Arizona State, Arizona, West Virginia. Like, you can name a team, and I'm like, they could beat Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right? They could beat us. And if we play like we're capable, we can beat them. But it's so bipolar. I don't see it happening. And I think after we get out of this season, I think we'll need to talk about, what are some potential changes that need to happen, because Wes Miller signed back on. He'll be back next year, correct?
Yes.
That came out, right? Okay.
Yeah, that came out. We figured that one too.
Yeah, everyone could have expected that.
Yep, we talked about that, and I just wasn't sure if it was. I thought it had gone public, but so changes need to be made, and we're going to need to talk about what some of those changes are. But when you go into the off season to talk about some of those things, and as a staff, you want to make a good ending, like a good run at the end here. You want to have a good ending. So, I mean, it'd be nice to like JT. We'll eat our words, but I think the three of us can join forces and say it doesn't look like this team's going to make a good run in the Big 12. I hope we're wrong.
I hope so too, man. Like
I hope we are. I hope we are.
I'll be happy to be wrong. Happy, like super happy to be wrong.
You know what's funny is like a couple of my buddies hit me up and go, "How dare UC ask us to renew our season tickets?" When they did, you guys see that?
Yeah, it was the timing, but you have to. But yeah, the timing was off the chain.
You know, it's one of those things where, like, I think if you even go back last year, the timing's the same of the ask.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you know, it's different than it's been. You know, if they were hot and winning, the timing's great, right?
Yeah.
But you know, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely. I've got some ideas of some things I think they could potentially do in the off season and do differently. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know, but just my thoughts. So the Twyman segment is sponsored by Visionary Cleaners. Visionary Cleaners is a locally owned company by former Bearcat student athletes. They specialize in high-quality commercial cleaning of businesses, apartments, and pre- and post-construction cleans. They can be reached at 513-388-7816 or contacted online at visionarycleaners.com. Fellas, this concludes another great podcast. Thanks to all of our sponsors, Donahue Accounting Services, Smart Dog Solutions, Greg Hood and Beachmont Toyota, Visionary Cleaners, Purple Monkey Project, and Oakley Greens. You're listening to the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. And before we get off of here, fellas, we're going to have a very special interview that we're going to release next week on one of the unofficial, I guess you want to call him the unofficial, like, Bearcat player. Like, he's in a locker room. He's in the handshake line. He's a
nice,
huh?
So he got the juice, man.
He's got the juice. My guy Cole, man, great kid, great family. So I'm excited to interview him and his mother and father, Megan and Nate, his dad. So that'll be fun. For friendly expert tax advice whenever you need it, come to Donahue Accounting Services, a leading accounting firm in Cincinnati, Ohio. Our top-notch accountants strive to help you resolve all your financial and tax issues. Call Donahue Accounting Services today for a free consultation at 513-528-3982 or visit online DonahueAccountingService.com. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bearcat Tip-Off Talk podcast presented by Donahue Accounting Services. Go Bearcats.